We're going to start in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right, we're going to start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in this annual joint delegation meeting. My name is Lori Alhadef, and I'm the privilege of serving District 4 as a school board member, Parkland, Coral Springs, Margate, Tamarack, and North Lauderdale. Before I turn it over to Chair Woodson, I would first like to turn it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves. Dr. Holness.
Good morning, Jeff Holness, representing School Board District 5.
Maura Bullman, representing School Board District 1.
Mrs. Pham.
Oh, you got turned on.
Need the mic on. I'm sorry.
Just introduce yourself.
Brenda Pham, exactly like they described. Thank you.
Good morning.
District 6.
Nora Rupert, District 7, which is Margate, Coconut Creek, Pompano Beach, Deerfield Beach, Hillsborough Beach, and Lighthouse Point. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rebecca Thompson, representing District 2, which is Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Southwest Ranches, a part of Davie and Cooper City.
Dr. Zeman.
Alan Zeman, Countywide School Board.
Okay. So, School Board Chair Hickson and Vice Chair Leonardi could not be here with us today, but they do send their regards. Chair Woodson, now would you like to introduce your colleagues?
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Really appreciate this opportunity to be here. My name is Marie Woodson, and I proudly represent District 105 as a state representative, and District 5 entails parts of Hollywood, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, West Park, and Pembroke Park. We are so excited to be working with the school board in order to make sure that we continue to serve the residents of Broward County and serving collectively, because we cannot do the work alone. We need your input, we need your engagement in order to serve the children and families of Broward County. So without any further ado, I would like to let my vice chair introduce herself, a woman that I admire as well.
Here we go again. It is a delight to be here. I am Dr. Rosalind Osgood, the senator that represents Senate District 32, which is Lauderdale, Lauderhill, Lauderdale Lakes, Tamarack, Sunrise, North Lauderdale, Plantation, and Oakland Park. And I am a lifelong advocate for education. I am excited about this conversation today. Wish we would have had it a few months ago, but just know that this Broward delegation is in Tallahassee fighting for you and trying to make sure that we have what we need to continue to move Broward County School District forward in the way that we all would like for it to be, and making sure that our children, all of our children, have what they need to be successful as they matriculate through academia and the different facets of life. Thank you guys for what you do. I personally know the arduous task of being a school board member, and a lot of times we don't publicly thank school board members, but you do the heavy lifting at the school board, and we just appreciate you. And we're so excited about our new superintendent and all the marvelous things that are going on in Broward County Public Schools. And next, I will pass it off to my right hand, who one day will be the senator for Senate District 32, Representative Darrell Campbell.
Well, thank you, Vice Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'm Representative Darrell Campbell, District 99. I represent the areas of Fort Lauderdale, Lauderdale, Lauderdale Lakes, Wilton Manors, and Plantation. I am a licensed clinical social worker by day, and by night I'm a sitting representative. It is a beautiful thing to be here and to really sit down and discuss some of the issues that are affecting that we see coming up in our Broward County Public Schools. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is right on time as we prepare to head up to Tallahassee for a whole 2 months. We're going to miss you, and I enjoy seeing your faces. If I haven't spoken to you already, Happy New Year, and I'm looking forward to the conversation that we're about to have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Representative Hillary Cassell. I'm going to flip what Representative Campbell said. My full-time job is state representative. My part-time job these days seems to be attorney based out of District 101, which encompasses Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Hallandale, Dania Beach, and Davie. I'm excited to be here. It's always a pleasure to hear from our school board and give us an update on what's happening on the ground in our schools and how we can be a resource for all of you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm fine, but one of these lingering voice things from 3 weeks ago. Dr. Mitch Rosenwald, the new state rep representing District 98, which is Oakland Park and parts of Pompano, Deerfield, Fort Lauderdale, Lauderdale Lakes, and Tamarack. As a former mayor, I worked extensively with the school board, with our schools in Oakland Park, and appreciate your leadership. And Dr. Hepburn, as you come up on a year, celebrate you and your leadership in keeping everything together. Also welcoming to the brand new school members. I just checked in with them and wanting to hear much about your legislative priorities and how we can, as a team, advance Broward schools in the legislature. Good morning.
Thank you. Representative Hunchowski.
Thank you, Chair Woodson. I'm Christine Hunchowski. I represent District 95, which includes Parkland, Coconut Creek, Margate, and portions of Coral Springs. I'm thrilled to be here. Nice to see our school board rep, Lori Alhadeff, here. And I just want to thank Broward Schools for all the work you're doing regarding education, thinking outside the box, getting our students as prepared as possible for life. I too was mayor of Parkland prior to becoming a state representative, and we had worked with the school district to have an addition over at Riverglades Elementary so that the students could continue going to community schools. So just want to thank all of you and the teachers and everybody who are so invested in making sure our students are ready for what comes their way in life.
Thank you. And our former commissioner and current executive director, introduce yourself.
I'm Bob Mayerson, Executive Director of the Broward Legislative Delegation. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And Madam Chair, if I may take a special point of special privilege to have all the legislative aid and the district aid to stand up and be acknowledged as well. Thank you. Thank you. They are the cornerstone of what we do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So now I'd like to invite James Knapp, Broward Education Foundation, for brief remarks.
Oh, there we go. All right. So just checking. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the introduction. Like she mentioned, my name is James Knapp. I'm the president and CEO of the Broward Education Foundation. For those of you who don't know, we are the 501c3 direct support organization for Broward County Public Schools. Excited to be here. One of the reasons that I am here today is because of the work that gets done within the district and, you know, in Tallahassee to provide matching grant funding to the state for education foundations, and that gets parceled out by district and comes to us as well, obviously, as part of that matching grant system. And that allows us to do what it is that we can do within the school district to kind of go back and give back to our teachers, faculty, staff, our students. Just a few examples of that. Our school supply center is one of those. We give away about $2.1 million worth of school supplies per year. It gives us the opportunity to kind of go out, talk to businesses and individuals to come back and give. And then we do things like teacher grants and expanding on what it is that our teachers are already doing. We have some of the most innovative and best teachers in the entire country here at this district, and I truly believe that. I know that if not all of you, many of you in this room really do believe that, and we continue to support them and their ideas for growth. So what we have at Broward Education Foundation is we stand on 3 pillars, and one of them is student scholarships, the school supply center, and then we also have our teacher grants. And we would look to expand this upcoming year as we look for state matching grant funding to go from 7 million to 10 million, because what we want to do is focus on resiliency in this upcoming year. We know how the importance of resiliency. Our district is no different than probably many others in wanting to focus on resiliency, but I do think we have a unique opportunity in Broward County to take the lead in this state and focusing on resiliency for this state and for our students and for our teachers, right? The resiliency dollars that come down from the state matching grant funding isn't just for our students, right? It's to also impact our teachers as well, which is a really big piece to us. And I know that Dr. Hepburn and I have talked about really investing in our teachers in that way, because it does make a long lasting effect. So within the Broward Education Foundation, for those of you who are looking to learn more, please reach out. I look forward to hearing from you. But for many of you here who I see on a daily basis, please continue to do what it is that you do and reach out to me and continue to provide those connections. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them. But other than that, I just wanted to say good morning, and I look forward to you guys going back up to Tallahassee and supporting our initiative as always.
Senator Osgood.
Thank you. When you talked about the increase in resiliency dollars, could you spend a few minutes explaining exactly what those resiliency dollars fund?
So they could be funded in many different ways, right? We can actually put grants back into mental health awareness within our students and our faculty and staff, and we can provide programs. And it wouldn't really just be within the foundation itself, right? It's in hand with the school district and what it is that the school district would really look at kind of expanding on what they currently have or creating new, and we would be able to actually assist in functioning to help those things. So as those come down, we know that there's a need in the mental health space within our school district, and it's continuing to partner with our school district to enhance what is already there.
So those mental health services would be for children and for teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And thank you to the Broward Education Foundation for supporting our students and for providing this amazing breakfast this morning.
Thank you.
Today, the superintendent and staff will provide a presentation on Broward County Public Schools and the 2025 legislative priorities. Before I turn it over to Superintendent Hepburn, I would like to thank the delegation for your commitment to our students, teachers, and staff. I now like to turn it over to Superintendent Hepburn and staff for their presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to acknowledge my cabinet. If you could please stand to be recognized. These are the I know a few of them are out occupied doing the daily work to keep our school district moving along for our students. First of all, you got it. First of all, I definitely want to tout our A-rated school district. Yes. So we understand the economic impact this has on Broward County itself when you have a A-rated school district that can support recruiting new businesses to the area, which we understand the quality of instruction that's going on in our classrooms, the quality of students that we're producing that can fill the industry needs that we have presently in the county, and also the industry needs to come from the recruitment of better businesses in our area. This is the first time we've been an A since 2011. Also, no D and F schools since 1999. That is actually the second or third year of the accountability system in Florida, 1999. Our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the south cannot say that. They still have D and F schools. And we don't. So that's a testament to the hard work that's going on in our schools, our principals, our teachers, our food service workers, our bus drivers, our facilities workers, our volunteers, our parents, all of our nonprofit and for-profit businesses. That's what it takes to move a district to an A. And that's what it will take to keep the district an A. Those essential partnerships, those external partnerships are gonna help carry us along for multiple years and relishing in those accomplishments. So thank you for all your support and your ongoing support in that effort. With that clear understanding that we can't do this work alone. We need all partnerships. We need volunteers. We need for-profit, nonprofit businesses. We need our legislators to continue to support us. We need our local municipality leaders to continue to support us as we scale out our initiatives. And our overarching theme this year is One Broward. That's what it means to be One Broward, right? To create that A environment for all of our kids. But anchored with that are three themes: believe, empower, and achieve. When we believe in our students, right, an ounce of belief can help a student meet or exceed their potential. Sometimes it's simply the lack of belief in our kids that cause them not to meet their goals. Also empowering, making sure that all of our teachers, all of our staff have the resources and the tools that they need to get the job done every day for our kids. But also in the other realm of empowerment, and to ensure that we have the right people sitting at the table that's ultimately going to be impacted by decision-making, so we can create a high level of ownership. We don't want compliance. We want people at the table to help with decision-making so they can actually own those decisions too. And when you have those two things working together, we can celebrate high achievement year after year. Next slide. So you probably see some of this before, but we are the largest restaurant in Broward County. We serve over 25 million meals per year. We're also the largest transit system in Broward County, as our buses are traversing all over the county, and they log over 10 million miles annually. We are the largest employer also in Broward County, 6th largest school district across the country, and our students earn hundreds of millions of dollars in scholarships year after year. And we're steadily increasing that number with our academic initiatives to broaden our acceleration approaches to make sure our high school students can be immersed in more college courses, and our middle school students can be immersed in more high school courses. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of employees. It takes a lot of volunteers. And again, it takes a lot of partnerships to ensure that we can continue to experience the successes we're having year after year. With that said, the graduation rates for last school year came out mid-year around December. For our traditional district operated schools, we have a 96.2 graduation rate. 94% of our high schools have a 90% or higher graduation rate. 24 of our high schools have a 95% or above graduation rate. We actually have 7 high schools with 100% of their kids graduating last year. Yes. 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 And so, those are the schools that we have under our purview that we support, we control overall for the entire county. When you include charter schools and other per se public schools, it's about 89%. I'm a competitive guy, but I'm also a collaborative guy. So we're going to be reaching out to those partners because they are partners of ours too, to ensure that all kids in Broward County are getting across that line. It's not just about the kids that are coming to the schools that we operate. We also want to collaborate with them to make sure all kids are walking across that finish line. We have an amazing CTASE department, Career Technical Adult and Community Education Department. Why does this matter? Of industry certification programs in our high schools and also technical colleges too. Many of our kids can not only go to our high schools and get college credit through ACE courses, AP courses, and IB courses, but we also offer many industry certification courses where students can get industry certification and hop right into high-paying careers if they so choose, or take those talents to post-secondary institutions to continue their learning so they can actually increase their value to the county and to our state and beyond. Offer all kinds of things, allied health assistance, culinary arts, digital design. Although BEF actually paid for the breakfast, our actual Sheridan technical students baked those goods fresh this morning. This didn't come from Panera. Actually tastes better than Panera. Also, we boast the largest debate program in the nation, and also the largest JROTC program in the nation, not just in the state, but in the nation, and offer many, many more programs to continue to meet the needs of local industries and beyond, so that we can churn out the best quality of students possible. Also, I want to thank the voters. They approved the Broward County Office of Inspector General. This is an additional arm for us to help address any misconduct, mismanagement, waste, or fraud within our school board operations. This is a plus for us as the 6th largest school district in the country, the largest employer, approximately about 30,000 employees and servicing hundreds of thousands of students. We need this additional independent arm just to make sure we're abiding by all rules, exercising fiscal responsibility, and not just going out and doing things frivolously, and staying on track for our mission and ensuring that we're producing the best students possible in our system. So we appreciate this this additional lever just to keep us in check and to make sure we can address any concerns that may be coming towards us in the future. So everybody's heard about redefining. I think when you hear about redefining, if you heard about mostly on the news about redefining, it's been school closure, school closure, school closure. For us and our staff, it is much more than that. First of all, it provides an opportunity for us to evaluate every program at our schools just to make sure they're having the intended impact. And if they're not, making decisions about sunsetting programs, scaling out things that are working great, and also going out and doing our research to bring in new programs that's going to meet industry needs and help our students propel their future careers beyond Broward County Public Schools and post-secondary opportunities and beyond. But we do have some immense challenges, just like other large school systems across the country. We've experienced a severe decline in enrollment over the past 10 years to the tune of about 45,000 plus students. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions moving forward. Our redefining efforts are will be broken out into multiple phases. Just this past year, a decision that the board made on January 22nd, which is reflected on the slide, is the first phase of that approach. So we decided to take the first fork in the road and to support building trust with our community. I understand as a beneficiary of trust from decisions in the past, and we wanted to go out to the community and really engage them and really listen to what they have to say about some of the things they want to see in their local schools. Also, it's about recruiting new students and retaining our existing students so we can stop the bleed, because we've been losing thousands of students year over year. And to provide innovative solutions from listening to our communities, to really evaluating the needs, talking to industry, talking to local legislators, so we can make sure we're pivoting in the right direction. And as a result, we've created some new options, transitioning schools to K-8 models, also successful 6-12 models that we already have in the district, to provide more innovative solutions that parents say they want. And so that is the first phase. The second phase, decisions are going to get tougher and tougher because we have to make decisions to right size our footprint in the county so we can make sure we're as efficient and effective as possible in our mission in educating all students and providing them with a quality learning experience and learning exposures in our schools. So more to come in the next phases as you'll hear about that during the summer and also during the fall. So, of course, safety is one of our top priorities. We are the beacon of safety in the country when it comes to schools and school districts. And as a result, we have armed officers in every last one of our schools, be it if it's our own school police, if it's municipality partner law enforcement, or if it's our guardians. So all of our schools are covered with an armed officer. In addition to that, we have metal detectors in all of our schools, all of our high schools. As we start transitioning and making decisions about what we're going to do for the rest of our schools. One thing I hear from our high school students is that they feel that their campuses are safer because of the metal detectors. They don't have to worry about a kid coming to school and making a bad decision, be it if it's something nefarious or be it if they're bringing something to show it off. We know how those things can impact our kids. And when kids are functioning out of fear, they can't learn. So this creates a better learning environment for all of our high school kids by adding this additional layer of safety. I can't talk about all the safety measures that we're doing because they're top secret. I may have to hurt you if I let you know all those things. But just know that we spend a lot of time ensuring safety and security in all of our campuses, and we are the safest school district in the country by far, thanks to our board continuing to challenge us just to make sure that we're exercising every option to make sure our kids feel safe and our faculty and staff feel safe in our schools and buildings too. With that said, I'm going to actually turn it over to Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Tereski to talk about our legislative priorities.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good morning, board members, delegation members. For those who don't know me, John Sullivan, Chief Communication and Legislative Affairs Officer. I'm going to take a brief moment just to introduce our lobbying team. I'm pretty sure all the members know them, but just in case, Wendy Dodge from the Southern Group has joined the lobbying team, so we welcome her and we know she'll do great things for us. Kay McDougall from Gray Robinson has been with us for many years, along with her colleague Jessica Love that's in the audience. So thank you guys for both being here. I do have some bitter, sweet, sad, happy news to announce, though. This will be Megan Tereski's final delegation meeting in her capacity as our Director of Legislative Affairs. We're proud of her. We know she'll do great things in her new endeavors, and I believe we'll get to work with her in that capacity as well. So we're excited for her, but we'll definitely miss her. All right, I want to leave plenty of time for a discussion, so I'm going to just really highlight our legislative platform. The whole platform is in your packet. One of the things we continue to ask the delegation, and they've been great champions, is to ensure that the school board has their local constitutional authority, allow them to make local decisions that they know best since they are closer to the constituents. One of those topics is school start time. That bill that goes into effect not this upcoming school year, but the following has huge implications, not only for the district, but for our families and for our businesses that would really have to adapt to that new start time. It also has huge financial implications for the district. Right now, we do have continuous challenges to find drivers for our buses. The bill would require additional bus drivers and routes, and that also has huge implications in terms of the finances. You're talking about millions of dollars, and really a huge adjustment on how parents expect to pick up their kids, how that implicates their work schedule. So we asked the delegation to just allow the legislature to allow the school board to determine that start time. So we're not asking for specific start time. We're just asking for the ability, as we had in the past, to establish that start time here locally. Funding is always a huge issue for us. The school board really wants to see what some would see as a large increase, but it's really not a large increase when you factor in the increases in the past couple of years. While we're grateful for all increases, it really hasn't kept up with inflation and the cost of doing business across the district. So what we're asking for is a $1,000 increase per student. One of the easiest ways to do that is to leave the local required effort. For those who don't know what that is, basically that's the local required effort that is on everyone's property taxes. What the legislature has continued to do is to lower that, which really has taken the ability to capture raising property values. So if they would leave that alone, that would self-fund itself for the most part. So we're asking for a $1,000 increase. This delegation has been a great champion of our adults with disability for the past 8 years. Or even longer than that. We've secured $800,000 every year to fund that program. Is a great program that funds several of our most vulnerable population in that program. So we continue to ask the delegation to support those endeavors. There's also the classroom in the cameras in certain classrooms, ESC classrooms. Broward Schools was a pilot of their program for 3 years. We know there's some movement there. We're currently looking to do a local policy, but what we do ask the legislature is to fund that program. It was not funded in the pilot, so the school district in Broward had to absorb those costs. And it continues to be a cost to us. So as the legislature looks to expand that throughout the state, we ask that they fund those programs. So those are probably the top hitters. You'll see them all there, but I did want to leave an opportunity for the members to have a discussion. So with that, Superintendent, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add, but we'll field any questions for discussion.
Chair Woodson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we go to any questions, and thank you so much for both presentations. Before we go to questions, which I have a question, I would like the two members who just came, they are two big advocates of education. They have been in the public school system. So I would like for them to take a few minutes to introduce themselves. And after they finish, Sydney, we left you out earlier. You just need to be acknowledged as well. Go ahead, Representative Waterman.
Hi, I'm Robin Bartleman. Everyone knows me here. School board member for 16 years. I have the gray hair and wrinkles to show it. And I'm really happy to be here. And I want to just thank you for your team and everything that you do in Tallahassee. And as a mother of a teacher in your school system and as someone who values public education, I just want to thank the whole board for their advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Robinson.
Good morning. I'm Representative Felicia Robinson, representing House District 104. I'm a bi-county rep, so I represent parts of South Broward and North Dade. I'm an educator. I'm in Dade County Public Schools for the last 30 years. And I do definitely have a passion for our children and making sure that they have the highest quality of education. So I do all I can.
Thank you. Sydney, are you here? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, no problem. Sydney is one of our staff as well. So thank you so much, and thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Superintendent, thank you for such a great presentation, and we are glad to hear that we are an A school. Broward County is an A school system. So my question to you, and we look forward to working with you, whatever we can do as a legislative body, we will do it. And my question to you, you talk about a collaboration between the public school system and other schools that are non-public school system. And I think that's a fantastic idea to do that because we are responsible to ensure that every kid have access to a good quality education. Could you walk us through what would that collaboration looks like?
Yes, absolutely. So we do some minor collaboration because let's say for charter schools, we are to pass through for many of some of their money. If they have ESC students, we provide additional support just to make sure they can meet the needs of many of their kids. Also, when it comes to safety and security, we're an arm to help monitor just to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do by law to keep their campuses safe. For me, when I saw the graduation data and I noticed that there was a stark contrast between our district operated schools and charter school graduation, it just sparked this collaborative idea to say, hey, let me create an opportunity to sit down to find out what their needs are, what their lack of understanding as far as how they get their students across the stage. There are strategies just to make sure students are taking the right courses, using the right practice. So if a student is behind, there are options besides a 24 credit option, which is the usual route a high school student would take. There are 18 credit options. There are opportunities for not going to the traditional time of school day. I just want to make sure that they are well aware of all options and sitting down with my team and their team just to make sure they understand that fully. To get more students across the finish line, which is going to be a better benefit for the county as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as a follow-up to that, and then after that, I'm going to let my other colleagues ask questions. As a follow-up to what you just said, you say you are going to determine their needs. Would you also talk about your needs? Because one of the issues that we keep hearing, like whenever the kids leave the public school system, the money does not follow the child back into you. And also as far as the standards that are not the same on both. So would that be also a topic of conversation since this is an issue that is always
Yep.
brought up to our attention.
So that will be a topic of discussion, but for the most part, the charter schools can't control how we divvy out money for FTE for students. Right now, the state of Florida, the DOE requires a student to be present for certain survey windows. So if, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Johnson, my awesome CFO over there, if they are here between survey 2 and survey 3, we receive the funding. But if a student comes to us after survey 3, we get no money for them at all. So the charter school received all the funding for the entire year for that student. So when they come to us, we get no funding at all after that survey window. So I don't think it's an issue that they can control. It's whatever policies or legislation that the state level would need to change, where the money should follow the kid, chop it up in a specific time frame. It could be per month, it could be per quarter, at least whatever school. It could be opposite. They come to us at the district operated school and they go to a charter school after survey 3. The charter school is not going to receive any of that money. We're going to keep the money for the entire year. So in all fairness, if we broke it apart in whatever increments to ensure that wherever that kid goes, there is funding that is following them so that the district or whatever other public type school is not experiencing a burden without funding. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would like to further this conversation with you at a later time because we won't have time this morning. But that's definitely something that we would like to look into in order to see what we can do as a legislative body. Thank you. And at this time, I know my vice chair has a question, right? Okay, all right, let's acknowledge Representative. Okay, well, not even your senator, that was my vice chair as well. So you have 2 privileges this morning. All right, let's go to Representative Boderman at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what I want to get from you, it's not a question, but more that now they've done the big blow. We've lost $2.1 billion have been diverted to vouchers. Now they're just going to finish the job one paper cut at a time. What's not on your legislative agenda is the fiddler's proposal by the governor. So for the school board members, so you know this, under 94-142, you have a very specific timeline to reevaluate and evaluate children. And the parents can actually litigate against you for not doing that. Across the state, we have a school psychologist shortage right now. And they are going to, in his proposal, you're going to have to do on-demand testing for all private schools within 30 days for voucher students. That is going to be physically impossible for you to get that done. You don't have the staff. You have you have a waiting list to get the pre-K 3, the 3-year-olds to get tested right now to get into the school system. And there is no allocation for you to even do this. So you really have to coordinate with your superintendents because this is going to be, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. You can barely keep up your evaluations. And remember, it's not just, ESC, it's the education plans for gifted students. So this has to be like on your radar. And when I say one paper cut at the time, we had a subcommittee now that's going to allow voucher students, which passed unanimously, much to my anger, to allow voucher kids to come and play sports at your school without any money following them either. So I think what your team has to do is really pay attention to this because that fiddlers, I know in most counties, there's like a 2,000 student waiting list just to get the 3-year-olds in for testing. So now if you're and remember, they want the evaluation, the vouchers, because then their FTE is weighted and they're going to get more money for that kid. So there's an incentive for them to get those dollars. So somehow you have to coordinate and organize with everyone about the real life implications of how you're not going to be able to handle this or anyone else. And then the sports and all these little things that are coming up. And I see Kim, because Kim is on the phone with me 100 times a day with all of this. So Kim, tell me what we're going to do about all of these things, because I am very scared right now.
I'm blessed to talk to people that care about students. So I'll always take your phone call. Thank you for all the hard work that everyone does on the school board and the delegation. Your delegation is amazing. They let me keep coming back and talking to them. And I know they go, oh God, here she comes again. So, but I appreciate you very much. So great issue, and you're right. And the governor, the governor makes a recommended budget. And when I worked in the governor's office, they used to say, you propose, we dispose. But obviously that's a little different this day. So the fiddlers thing, we've all known, if you've been following education, the districts have been struggling even before we had scholarships or whatever you want to call them with identifying students, right? And earlier, because the sooner and earlier you identify students, the sooner you get them services, right? To make it better. And what's the other issue? We got better at identifying students, right? So you had new technology, you had new tests, and now we can better identify students. But it all comes down to you need more counselors, you need more. So one way to help it is lessen the requirements. Like social workers, this is like a 1970s policy. Social workers are required to be certified teachers. I'm sure that was amazing in 1970, get all teachers. The social workers probably shouldn't be certified teachers. And now school counselors. Could they be highly effective school counselors without being certified teacher? Probably so. And so if you lower the requirements regarding a teacher, but you still want them to have the requirements on how to do testing, assessments, and counseling, that's one caveat there. So, but I have not heard anything about discussions per se with the fiddler's proposal from the governor's office. But what I have heard is everyone would like to shorten the length of time it takes for traditional kids and kids that aren't in your system to be identified for the services they need. There is no magic wand you can wave. It's not going to change overnight because when you do the evaluation assessment, right, you have to watch the kids in the classroom. So I don't know what the answer is yet, other than we need more school counselors and psychologists. But the system's not working for all the kids. The system could work better even for the kids in your system. And this is a 20-year problem, right? So what can we do differently? I don't know.
Okay, let's go back. Because for the sake of time, we have to give everybody a chance. After that, we'll come back to you. Rep. Robinson is next. Can we acknowledge Rep. Robinson and then Rep. Honchowski? I'll come back to you.
Thank you. My question kind of goes back to what Rep. Chair Woodson was asking, or what you was explaining about partnering and working with charter schools. I wanted to know if you all have given any thought to extending that to our children that are now, we have the universal voucher. So we have kids that are being homeschooled and things. However, they may want to take classes. They might want to come and take calculus, at the public school. Have we thought about that? Because that is a way also to bring some of those dollars back to the school system.
Yes, thanks for the question. We already actually do that. That is actually a practice that's been longstanding for quite some time where, for instance, mainly in the past has been for students who are in situations like being a professional gymnast or professional tennis player, and they're homeschooled and they're come to our campuses for specific courses that they can't acquire by being homeschooled. So, and we will get a portion of that FTE. So if they came to us for 2 classes, we would get 2/6 of the FTE for that student.
Are you good? You good? Right, Representative Honchowski.
Thank you, Chair Woodson. I just wanted to follow up on what Kim was talking about. We filed a bill to make sure to ask that school social workers as well as school counselors are not also required to have the teaching certification so that we can get more of them hopefully in the schools doing the work that's very much needed to support our students and their overall.
Good. Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Chair. Mine's more of a technical question, and I'm hearing some bills have been filed. We know that the filing deadline is right around now. John, will you be able to produce in the next week or two House and Senate bill numbers associated with as many priorities as possible?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. That was my question.
All right, thank you. And as you heard Representative Honchowski mention a bill to address.
809, I believe.
So great bill. All right. My Vice Chair, Senator Osgood.
Thank you.
And then we go back.
And thank you for the discussion and walking us through the legislative priority. I think we have to continue to focus on the bigger issue. We hear how all of the funding for education is increasing, but what is helpful is to know what that really looks like in Broward County. We can talk about more counselors, more psychologists, but we got to give more money. for those things. We keep wanting the school district to do more with less. And it just doesn't work like that. I mean, we sat through this past legislative session and talked about chaplains. And it was amazing to hear conversations about chaplains being able to replace mental health counselors. It doesn't work like that in the school district. Those are two different things. And I'm glad that some of you all are having meetings with different representatives. I'm kind of amazed. Ain't nobody talked to me yet in Tallahassee about school issues in Broward County. So what would be helpful for me is, I know on the Senate side, Senate Bill 166, Administrative Efficiencies in Public Schools, has been filed by Senator Simon, who is the education person on the Senate side and chairs the Education Committee. So when he's filing education-specific bills, we need to pay close attention to it. Also, Senate Bill 742, Workforce Development, expanding the Workforce Development Capitalization Incentive Grant Program to include charter schools. So what I need to know is, how does that play out for Broward County? Do we lose funding? Do we gain funding? We know that the district already works with all of the school districts because in Broward County, education is a shared responsibility. So kids could go to different means of providing that education during the course of their education experience. They may start out in a traditional public, go to traditional charter, go to private, and go back. So we do have to look at it from the big picture. Also, there's Senate Bill 1094, Career Planning Opportunities for Students. That is a bill designed to require work-based learning opportunities to be scheduled at times and locations to maximize students' access and participation. So now, are those programs, are those career planning opportunities, are you going to have to provide them somewhere else other than in the system that you're already providing them? So those are the kinds of things for me. And I'm holding it down for the Senate today. We had a tremendous loss in Senator Geraldine Thompson's passing away. So we are grieving and juggling to try to be in Orlando later the end of the week. But I need specifics. I'm on Education Appropriation Committee this year. So I'm already advocating. I had talked to Dr. Zeman and Dr. Honus about the increase in FTE funding. I think this is the year for that. And we can give it to charter schools and private schools too, as long as we get our piece of the pie. But we cannot continue to not address how the state of Florida underfunds public education. And I know we talk about, you know, autonomy and not wanting preemption, but I do think the legislators should mandate that all school districts right size. And the reason I say that is because when you try to do it on the local level, you get a lot of pushback. People start horning away that we're closing schools. Well, that's traumatizing for Black people because that's what happened to us after Brown versus the Board of Education. But we're not closing. We're repurposing the schools to be more efficient and more effective. And I think that from a state level, we have to help our school districts do that, not just tell them that enrollment is down and all this negative stuff that we always come up with, but we have to be more involved and more of a support system rather than just allocating dollars and sitting in our offices, almost Oval offices in Tallahassee, and pushing down the rules and regulations. So meetings like this and more partnerships and more opportunities that we get to understand what's our responsibility, working with the Department of Education. Commissioner Diaz is very open to have these conversations and work together. I think that we're really trying in a nonpartisan way to do better for education, but we don't have the experience that you have as school board members. And you have some great lobbyists, but they can't get to all of us in the time that we're there. So I think we need to have these conversations earlier and more often, but we need the nuts and bolts. What I'm saying is don't be politically correct. Give it to us how it's going to impact you. Then my final question, and I know for some people they've been taught it's a cuss word, but we have to talk about it. So we've passed legislation that grossly impacted diversity, equity, and inclusion. So from a school district's perspective and your way that you do contracts, a large benefactor of that DEI way that we operated is white women who own small businesses. So how is that, or do you foresee that those changes with DEI impacting the way that you've been doing contracts to minority businesses, primarily, white women are the leading, and then other women, because women are a minority. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we don't like to deal with the women issues. So I'm going to force us to deal with it today. What other funding have you had to supplement because of that? And I'm asking this question because we sometimes get up here and it gets political, but we don't understand down in the weeds what these pots of money was funding to help all of our students. So if someone could talk specifically to that to me, it would be helpful.
Dr. Hepburn?
Sure. So our understanding currently, those executive orders do not impact our ability as it relates to rewarding RFPs or contracts, at least not at the moment, is to the best of our knowledge.
And you have communicated with the federal and state government and have that in writing through some legal. And I'm being specific because now we're seeing this measure of rhetoric about retaliation. And a lot of the rhetoric is not true a lot of the times, but it's better for us to be clear and sure, because what I don't want to start happening in the community is people saying that we're cutting programs to hurt Black people. So that's why I want to have this conversation live and have the facts. So when we leave, we know the real truth about our district and what's actually happening. So we don't perpetuate lies in the community and cause greater division when we don't need to.
So we continue to receive and react to the executive orders. We've checked with our legal as it relates to the RFP process, and to the best of our understanding, it does not impact it. So it's business as usual in that regard in Broward County Schools.
Okay, are there any programs that have been impacted by any of those executive orders?
Not at the current time. A lot of those executive orders have kind of mirrored of what Florida has done in the past. So we've been limited in some of that policy in that regard. So it really hasn't had an impact on us as of now.
And thank you, Madam Chair. And it's important to me. I don't care who the political party is. When it comes to kids, if it's not good for kids and helping us move forward, I'm not for it. If it is, I don't care who's pushing it, I'm for it. But I like the truth and I like the facts. So I am delighted to hear that today, because it's those small businesses that create the local jobs.
And that's been one of the priorities of the superintendent. So not only do we welcome every single student in Broward County Schools, we're open for business for all vendors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, you're going to be next, Robin Bottleman.
If I may, Madam Chair, I also wanted to assure Dr. Osgood, as these bills move through the legislative process, we will definitely communicate with the delegation, specifically those who sit on those committees as those bills move through the process. So you'll be hearing from us.
Okay, great. Looking forward to hear from you. Representative Bottleman.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to what Kim said about fiddlers. First of all, even if you had all of the psychologists you wanted, counselors are not responsible for the testing. They only do a social emotional history of the test. So even if you did, there is no mechanism to pay you. So what is going to happen to you? I can't stress this enough, between fiddlers, between the sports, is that you are now robbing every other child in Broward County of their full FTE, because you are going to be supporting the voucher system. You're going to be supporting them with your school psychologists that are taken away. In every one of these bills, including the sports bill, there is no mechanism to pay you for what you're having to do. So for me, what I need you guys to do is, what is the real cost implication of what these proposals are? And then how much would it cost and take away from the district? So just imagine the vouchers are getting their full FTE, and now they're going to be able to use your school psychologist that you pull all your FTE funding to hire. So what you have to do is pay attention to every one of these bills and get us a cost. Because somebody should have filed an amendment in that committee, or I don't know if we're going to wait to the floor. I'm not on the education committees for exactly this reason, because okay, they don't like me on them. But the point is like, there are going to be real world implications to all of you. So the fact that you're not thinking that who's paying for all the school psychologists to do this? You. Where the voucher system and the homeschoolers are now like the largest district in the state of Florida, and they have no financial accountability to you as a district. So those things are really important. And then the other thing that we need is we need the data of the kids that are coming back. So I met with a committee chair, and I don't know what data the Department of Education is pulling, but I know just from knowing teachers in the district, there are kids coming back from homeschooling that are not reading, cannot write their names. They're coming back from the private schools. And I know if they were at least enrolled in the public schools first, you have their original test score. You can get their, pre and post, but you need to show us that, because what's going to happen is with the lack of accountability, you're just going to have these kids come back. And which I didn't think about doing, but for next time is that we have to think about doing a comprehensive bill where when they step out of the school system, they're not put back into your test scores the following year. Like I thought of this after the language deadline, but as a school system, you should say if they step away, they're not in our cohort for testing for so many years, because you get the bad test scores because they didn't get educated. So those are just things that I need. And I know I'm not angry at you guys. I'm just angry at everything they're doing to us. I can't help it because it just makes me so angry. So Kim, I work with Kim all the time. She's on the phone. I work with Megan. We do the amendments, but the amendments are much later when they're on the floor, because I'm doing them on the floor because I'm not in the committee. But you have to somehow get with the chairs and somehow get language in before it gets to the floor if you can. So I'm just very concerned about the financial implications to you as a district, with all of these things that are like hidden in these bills and no actual cost.
So in that regard, what we
Thank
do
you.
is we work with multiple districts across the state because they have different members on different committees, and they're also impacted just like Broward County Schools. So we try to leverage their relationships in the legislature as well.
Thank you. And at this time, I will turn it over to the chair, Aladef, because some other school board members, they have questions for us as well. So we'll come back if we have any time. So thank you to everyone. Go ahead, Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Zeman?
Thanks, Chair Aladef. I want to respond to Robin's point because I can get really angry really quick, having been born here and raised here and a product of the school district and the like. But I actually think that there's more money to be made talking about opportunities, about building Florida that's different than the Florida we have today. And last I checked my son's 5th grade math test book, 9,000 is less than 13,000, right? 9,000 is the operational funding that Florida gives to students. At least that's the amount we get in Broward County. Council of Great City Schools says that the national average is 13,000. Every conversation I have with, whether I run into Roz Osgood at Smitty's Wings or I call or talk to any of you, starts with that, because we're just behind. Like, we'll count library books. We'll comply with all the laws. We'll do all the things that you require us to do by law because it's the law. But at some point, why don't we build a better educated Florida? And it starts with traditional public education and public charters. I mean, there are 25% of our schools statewide are in public charters. When you raise FTE funding, you lift up the entire state. And the second number that I'd like to talk to people about, and I'm not sure if Robin's aware of this one, 41% of Broward County is involved in public education on a daily basis. Either student, a parent, a guardian, a volunteer, someone running an after-school program, before-school program. You add all those people up, and it's 820,000 people. So if you want to do something for the economy of Florida, why don't you educate its people, like with real money? And why don't you kind of recognize that 40% of the state's involved in this? And so you're gonna hear from a lot of people every time you do something about education, because it really matters. But I like to talk about the opportunities, because if I get off on the anger track, people don't like to listen to me a lot. But there is a real opportunity to build a different Florida. There is a fork in the road, to borrow kind of a federal term lately, not a good one, but a fork in the road. And I also think it's about stop worrying so much about regulation and start to think about setting standards. What do we want our kids to learn? How good do we want their mental health? What are the standards to the Office of Safe Schools for making sure 67 counties are safe, not some? All those things are very, very useful things. I love the idea, Senator Osgood, about right sizing. I can give you some ideas on how to write that so that it kind of gets us to the right place. But we have to show Tallahassee that we're serious about our core mission. And our core mission is K through 12 education. It's mental health for our kids. It's keeping them safe. And I think the state's support on things like right sizing could be very helpful. And I think that the biggest issue on this whole sheet, which is a really great menu of things we'd love to have happen, are really that $1,000 per FTE. That would build a better state. I think we could get bipartisan support on that. I know we can get public charter schools to advocate for us because they get the same amount of money. So I just love that, it's kind of a North Star in what we're working on in Tallahassee this year. And I just really appreciate all of your time. Every time I call you guys, you answer the phone. And when we're up there visiting, this year we have 8 of our 9 school board members coming up. Some people are coming up more than once because they've got other opportunities to get up there and testify and things like that. So I look forward to seeing you up in Tallahassee, and we'll continue to do things. I love costing stuff too, Robin. So anytime, I know the superintendent works on this diligently with his CFO and others, if you need an impact, I'm worried, to be honest, Chair, about things like the school psychologist. I'm the son of a school psychologist, so I'm a little bit intimate about that. There is no solution. Like, we could say it would cost us $4 million more to do testing for kids outside of traditional public schools. But if you had $4 million, you couldn't hire a school psychologist this year. There aren't any around. And so we've already employed all the ones that graduate, and that's like a dead end that we're just not going to get out of. And so I'm hoping that they either provide contract dollars or something like that, because we can hire school psychologists through contracts. We just can't hire them as government employees anymore. We've tapped that market. So that's the kind of reality that I hope that we can introduce to the legislation that's being considered. But really, really appreciate you guys' time today and look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Dr. Holness?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank everyone for being here. It's an opportunity to have this meeting, this discussion. And so I'd like to mention, and based on what Senator Osgood had mentioned in terms of putting the responsibility as well on the state as well as our local district to right size our district. We have over 40,000 empty seats in Broward County schools, and oftentimes as board members, when we start to repurpose and the superintendent's effort to repurpose schools, we tend to get significant pushbacks. So I think if on a state level, if we can have support in terms of the right sizing of our schools, as the senator had mentioned, that would significantly reduce the pushbacks that we receive here on a local level. And it's not just Broward County schools. There are many schools districts within the state that are losing students. So I think if we can have that collaborative effort on a state and local district, school district level to right size our schools within the state, that would be helpful. Also, in terms of our ESE students, Broward County, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent Hepburn, has over 40,000 ESE students.
That is correct and continues to grow.
And it continues to grow,
Yep.
which is probably about 16 or so % of our population. I am also a parent of an ESE child. I know the challenges that our ESE parents face. It is significant. And my son actually has some ESE challenges as well, which is not near as significant as some of our ESE parents that have major issues in terms of accommodations for ESE students. So I believe that advocacy in terms of greater funding for ESE population is really important in terms of teacher training, resources for our students. And in fact, I recently went to one of our schools, which is Rock Island Elementary, and the ESE team came down from the district, met with the leadership team, and they look at individual ESE students on a targeted approach, be able to resolve some of the accommodation issues for these students. Now, that kind of effort takes money. If you were to put that all across the school district, or if you were to have that effort across the district. So I guess my concern is that my request is that continued advocacy is there for our ESC students to increase ESC funding. It's never enough because the need for our ESC population is great. And lastly, I'd like to mention that in terms of our school district, the superintendent mentioned that we have no Ds and F schools, but I wanted to also let you know, when we had 7 Ds and Fs and 2 F schools in Broward County, 5 of those D schools came from my district, which is District 5. The only 2 F schools came from my district, which is District 5. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because District 5 is primarily African Americans, Caribbean students. And I believe that it's important that, as Dr. Zeman had mentioned, that we raise the FTE funding, because that is important that our kids are doing well, especially our minority kids who tend to fall behind most often because of lack of resources. So I'm asking for advocacy for resources to be provided to our most needy children. And oftentimes this has to do with our minority kids that have economic disadvantages that create challenges in their learning outcome. So just wanted more advocacy in that regards, because it does play out when everyone does well, when we take care of the bottom of us, everyone does well, right? Because if we remove Ds and F schools and we help to bring the learning outcome of our lower performing students up, it creates a domino effect where a district becomes an A district and so on and so forth. So it's important that we take care of everyone. So I'm just asking that we have increased advocacy for funding for our lower economic status students, as well as increased funding for our ESC students, and for the state to be involved more in right size in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pullman.
Thanks. And thank you for everybody's input, and Representative Bertelman. I was afraid of those things, so thanks for confirming that that's actually what's happening, and putting everybody on the alert. To Senator Osgood's point, and just to follow with Dr. Holness, I see where there would be positive impact having the state supporting right sizing the district. The only concern that I have about that is making sure that that's done equitably, and like particularly in my district, I would be concerned. I wouldn't want to see particular areas of the county looked at over others. So I don't know how that would look or how we could advocate for that, but supporting the process, but also making sure that it's not just looking at one area would be something that I would like to see happen. Thank you.
Mrs. Rupert?
Thank you. I want to thank my colleagues as well as our partners here in the room with the delegation. You work hard up there, and I'm thinking you need some bubble wrap at times when you come out of those office meetings, but yeah, that helps. That does help. We're doing an amazing job of getting all of our students, and I do mean all, because the district, my board members, we're always pushing for every single kid to have this changes so they can actually get through the process of learning, and we need to make sure we're focusing on them. We've had incredible graduation rates, and we're making improvement in our kids that are part of the at-risk subgroups. Is there still more work to be done there? Yeah, there is. However, we need to get the information out there, especially to the public, what really great things that were happening in the district right now. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands so you can play along. Have you seen more advertising lately in the last month or so for the school district? Some of the positive things that we've been saying? There you go. It's working though. We're not done, but we're working. Superintendent, did you want to say our motto?
Everybody can say it. Choose the best.
Choose BSBPS.
There you go. And I'm going to end on top right there. But thank you all for your effort.
Mrs. Thompson?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming out bright and early, or it's kind of bright and early. So I just wanted to say thank you for this meeting. I think it's really important not only to increase our partnership with our municipalities, but also our state legislature. I just wanted to echo some of my colleagues' comments about increasing funding per student, because I think that's something everyone could get on board on, whether you're pro charter school, pro public school. If we have more money, we can do more for our students. I also want to, and I know it's been trying to advocate for a while, but full day funding for VPK programs would be life-changing in a lot of our communities. Or even figuring out a way to duplicate Head Start, just increase funding for early childhood education can only benefit every single student in the long run. And then I have a lot of concerns about state involvement in redistricting or redefining our school system. Every school system in Florida is extremely different, and what might work for Lee County isn't going to work for Broward or isn't going to work for Miami. And when you get state involvement, I just have concerns that it's going to mean we're going to have to open up more charter schools if we close a school, or it's going to mean closing 5 schools in each district. This is, I think, something that needs to be involved with locally with our municipalities, and not necessarily a directive from the state would be my concern with that. But again, thank you so much, Miss Dr. Osgood. We can get ice cream when I come in Tallahassee if you know a good place. Okay.
Thank you. So I would like to focus on the school safety bullet points, the first and last one. The increase of safe schools allocation to further ensure students, teachers, and staff are safe at school every day and continue to provide the necessary training for the Guardian program. I just wanted to spotlight that because that's extremely important. And then the last bullet point, as far as the written or electric threats made against our schools to shoot up a school, this has become a really huge problem. It is not only affecting the education at the school, it's affecting the students' mental health. And we have these swatting calls. So I know we were trying to kind of creatively think of how we can put consequences, whether it's financial consequences on the parents of the students if they know about the threat. Maybe it's volunteering if students make these threats, but we have to do more to try to fix this problem because it's drastically affecting our schools. And then also the law enforcement and the school district, it's costing a lot of money when these threats, because we are responding obviously and making sure that our kids are safe in school.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have any other questions from our delegation members? Any other questions? Well, Bottomman, are you okay now? Okay, good. I think good. Just checking. You have one? Okay, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. When I talk about repurposing and right sizing, I'm talking about something as simple as the state asking the school districts for a plan, a right sizing plan. I want to be clear about that because schools can't continue to operate. If a school was built for 700 students, and right now the neighborhood, most people are of that age where they're not having children and it's 100 kids in the school, it's not the fault of the district. But from an administrative business perspective, it does not work for efficiency and effectiveness. And when the school district begins to make those decisions, then they get pushback. And I didn't hear it here today, but I also want to salute Broward County. I believe that Broward County has a best practice model for right sizing and repurposing schools. You did it before, the district did it before. And it seems to be a cycle. Like every 7th or 8th year, you find yourself back with that subset of schools. And I'm sure if we talk to the educators that's been in this work for a long time, they can tell us the cycles and what happens with the trends of students and the things that's going on. And Board Member Zeman talked about how many people are involved in education on a daily basis. I totally disagree. I think that educating our children is all of our responsibilities. Every segment of the community should be involved. It's not just the responsibility of the school district. Y'all know my acronym change. Children have a need to grow every day. And we all have a responsibility in creating those opportunities for our children to grow. Now, I'm going to just say this in ending. My challenge is sitting on appropriations. So I'll get many groups come in. I'll get Broward Behavioral Health come in and say, give us the money for mental health. I'll get the Children's Service Council say, give us the money for this. Healthy Start Coalition, give us the money for this. And then the school district is needing money. So in my mind, I'm saying, who do we give the money to? Now, I'll admit I'm very transparent and very biased. I'm gonna probably always lean toward the school district. But maybe the way we work it is we start looking at organizations, and I'm talking to my colleagues that we're giving money to work in our school districts, that there has to be some type of partnership with them in the school district so they are extending the arms of a school district. You can have an after-school program at school A, and your after-school program could be a math program, but school A is struggling with reading. So although you have a wonderful program there, it's not doing anything to help the schools. I did think of another question in the legislative session for 2024. Right at the end of the session, there was this bill that was pushed through to share capital outlay dollars with charter schools. I don't have a problem supporting charter schools or public schools, any school that works. I don't like any school that doesn't work. But what I need to see is, did that impact the district? And if so, how? Because when money goes away, we can't expect the district to continue to do business as usual. We have to talk about the reality of decisions and the financial impact, because I don't want to be in the legislature and now I'm doing something that creates an equity issue for traditional public school systems where 80% of the kids go to school at. So that bill that changed, that mandated the sharing of capital outlay dollars, how did that financially impact the Broward County School District?
Dr. Hepburn?
Sure. So that does, it has had an impact with us, to us. We will share that with the delegation. We haven't felt the full impact though, because the legislation had a gradual increase of how much we had to share for over a 5-year course. So we haven't experienced the full impact of the legislation, but we have been impacted by it. And any dollars that are taken away from our capital program is a huge issue for us, because we have millions, if not billion of dollars worth of deferred maintenance. So that's the monies that would go to make the necessary repairs to our schools. So it does have an impact, but we haven't felt the true and full impact because of the way the legislation was written. But we'll share those numbers with the delegation.
Follow up, and when you're sharing the numbers, could you talk about the potential to impact bond rating and the other things that are tied to that? We don't know this stuff in Tallahassee. I only know because I was on the school board. So I oftentimes feel like my colleagues are at a disadvantage in making decisions on the surface with not understanding how it plays out. So the more information we give, it helps us all make better decisions.
Sure, we could do a white sheet for the.
Thank you.
And Dr. Osgood, I think we need to share more too, because giving money to a private company that is hired to manage a public charter school to invest in their facilities that they own is taking public dollars and putting it in an owner's pocket. When you take capital money and spend it at a government agency, whether it's a municipal charter like out in Pines, or whether it's a public school, traditional public school district run, is paying for a government property. And so people's money is paying for something the government owns. And people don't think about that up in Tallahassee. But this is like the voucher program. The reason it's a bad policy is it takes money from middle-class people and gives it to very wealthy people that are already in private schools. Like when I grew up, we didn't do that with government dollars. We're taking care of everybody. And so I like those conversations, but it's not just about the amount of money, because it's going to be 20% that we give away to public charters, but we are giving it to people who own the buildings. Like that's taking government money and putting it in someone's pocket. I don't understand that.
I've been bringing up those things. We get removed from the education committee.
Okay, we're gonna end with Ms. Pham and then I'll go, then Chair Woodson.
Thank you, Mrs. Aldoff. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. I know we're talking about money here, but I don't think is the focus. I think the focus should be on the students. And in looking at these stats here, instead of saying, well, we're putting money in business parking, I want to know why we're losing students. We have K through 5, we have more than 80,000 students enrolled in the public school. But by 6 through 8, we're down to 40,000. We're losing half our students. I think the question should be reflecting on what's going on in the public school and the elementary schools that would cause half the students that we have in elementary to leave by the time of middle school. We have to focus on what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right and fix it. But that way, we're not in the middle of the game and half our team is gone. We have to invest upfront to find out what's going on during those years that these parents no longer want their students in the public schools. Maybe we get some back in the high schools, it looks like. I think it's a lot to do with athletics. But what is going on? That's a 50% loss. And we need to look at ourselves and reflect and fix that.
If I could just add, part of the redefining initiative, the superintendent has studied other models, especially how charter schools operate. So to your point of the middle schools, some of those changes that the delegation will see in our community are more K-8s to better compete. So we hope that will address some of the concerns. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much to the delegation. Thank you for your collaboration. Thank you for your partnerships. And the school board is looking forward to Rally to Tally, March 18th to the 20th. Chair Woodson.
Thank you very much, Chair Alhadeff. We really appreciate this collaboration and partnership. On behalf of the entire delegation, I would like to thank every school board member, the superintendent, and the staff, and also the administrators and lobbyists who are here today. We really thank you for what you do day in, day out to ensure that our Broward County students are educated and families are taken care as well in the process. We thank every single one of you who are here today, who are showing an interest in the education of our children. We know increasing the funding is key to our school system. There's no if, no but about that. Our teachers are not making what they need to make as well while we're taking care of the children. Let's remember those teachers who cannot afford to pay the mortgage or the rent. So we want to ensure that our education system continue to be top-notch in Broward County and in the state of Florida as well. Again, thank you to everyone. Let's continue to work together on behalf of the families of Broward County and the state of Florida. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
We're going to take a quick family photo. And if someone lost their AirPods, we found AirPods. Delegation members and board members, if you can line up against this wall so we can take the photo, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So where are we taking the picture?
Oh, stay seated. Oh,
Seated?
Stay seated, and then the other members, if you can get behind the seat.
Okay, all right, let's.
Someone can have my seat, Megan. Oops, Megan.
I guess I can't take it.
Yeah.
We have everybody? Everybody smile. So count to three, everyone say, choose the best, choose BTS, okay? 1, 2, 3. Choose the best, choose BTS.
Yeah. No, I'm the legislative. I'm the town. 1402. Okay. We have our cards without the district phone number. So. They're, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Right. I don't know if I met right. I'm sorry, Rob. Yeah. And yours? Huh? Hello. Record more money or? I'm so glad. I now have, confidence. I should have been. Yeah. And I should, They're 4 years now. But I did. You need to ask for the give us a part. Where are we with the bond company? There was so voting in the school.
That's been our burden. It was just ordered out. I'm glad you all actually focused on it. All right. Yeah. The shade.
Either one, both are nice. Yes. That's a lot. Good morning, Senator.
Okay. You're alone.
No, you can do it.
I was told by someone. Even if she's like, no. So is that standard that before you go to you're the ranking member, and then before you go to like, would you go you care about it? I don't know. It matters. So it's not like their relationship. You know what? Where did you start?
I haven't, yeah.
You want to do
I've been meeting with That's what I was, oh, because I'm sorry, I was just thinking for fun, I don't mean to, oriented.
I can do it from